Hi, this is Ben Robinson. Welcome to my review of exercise 23 from chapter 4. In it, we're asked to close out accounts. We have an adjusted trial balance for the Ivanhoe Company, and that's here in the space provided below. And then we're tasked with closing out all the entries. And so, as I understand it, the purpose of doing that is taking things from temporary accounts, which might be on the income statement, and preparing for the balance sheet by moving them to from those temporary accounts to permanent accounts. So to do that, the first thing that we need to do is close out revenue accounts. And it lists right here that that's what we're to do, close out the revenue accounts. So the first revenue account that you'll see here, and I'll try to scroll back up here a little bit, is the service revenue account. And so that's the first thing that we would do is put in our service revenue, and we're going to debit. And so that amount all the way on the right there is $33,020. And then the next one is rent revenue. And we see up above, all the way in the right column there, it's $13,350 that we're going to debit. And so to close the account, we have to offset that. And when we put in a credit, it would automatically bring that over. But since I'm doing this outside of the regular instructional software, I've indented that, and we move that to income summary. So we take all that and we move it over to income summary. And so the credit there is $46,370. Next, we need to, as you'll see here, close out the expense accounts. And so all the expense accounts are listed here. And so all of those are going to flow over to and be closed out into the income summary. And we could go ahead and add those up right now, but I think probably the better way to do that is to come back and put in the debit after we have put in all of our credits. The first one is salary and wages expense that we're crediting, 18,060. The second to the from the second to the last from the right column there. Next, we have supplies. And 1,600. For that, we have rent. And 16,900. Then we have insurance expense. 1,420. And the last from up above, depreciation expense. And that's $1,200. So if we add all of those together, from salary and wages expense down to depreciation expense, the total that we're then going to debit into the income summary account is $39,180. Okay. Then the next thing we need to do is close out the income end or loss, and to determine what that is by moving it from the income summary to retained earnings. And so we know that it's going to be income summary that is debited. And then here we're going to credit retained earnings account. So how we would determine this is it's really as simple as the income, so the revenue that we moved over to the income expense, which is, if we had a T account here, would be on the credit side, and then on the debit side we had 39,180, which represented all of the expenses, and so the profit is going to be a leftover credit of 7,190. And so we'd need to enter a debit here, zero that account out, because we had a balance on the credit. So to zero that out, we need income summary of 7,190, a debit there. And then to retain earnings, a credit of the same amount, bring that whole amount over to retained earnings. Then from there, the last thing that we need to close out is we need to close dividends. And so where we get the dividend amount is up here. It was 2,540. And so it's actually going to come from retained earnings. And so we have retained earnings here. And we're going to debit 2,540. Debit that. And then credit the dividends for the same amount. And so by doing that, we've successfully closed out all of the temporary accounts, made them permanent accounts in preparation for doing the balance sheet. And I think that concludes our review. Thank you.